pjnet.tv Tuesday night, 9:01 or 9 o'clock. Time to get started on the East Coast. And we're running a bumper, we are recording, and we are streaming. So we will switch to studio number 8 in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, good evening. Welcome to pjnet.tv. I'm Coach Prasick, and it is my honor to sit in this chair to be the host and facilitator of many conversations over the past few years, or months and years, so to speak. And if you are watching this from Facebook or maybe YouTube or maybe Twitter, we are especially glad that you've taken some of your time out to join us here. We would like, however, to invite you to join the live chat fellowship. If you're using a desktop or a laptop, if you will just open your browser, a new tab or whatever, and go to pjnet.tv, the very first option up there is to go to the live session, and we've got people there right now. In fact, thank you all of you who are in our chat room for being here to welcome our guests, whether that guest be in the chat room or whether that guest be on stage. Well, one of the frequent visitors as of late in our chat room is Monty Hobbs, and I thought we would use this as an opportunity to get to know Monty, because Monty is our friend. Now, the reason we know that is that he is a friend of J.D. Winninger. How did you know J.D., Monty? Y'all lived in that same big city and just ran into each other at the barbershop? And that's not possible. Neither of you have any hair.
No, that wasn't it. J.D. and I talked about that, and I think it was a church fundraiser that we met and talked for a while and had a good time. So I think that was the start of the whole thing.
Well, that works. We can do that. And but you, for some reason, you were living in I don't say Cooper, you say Cooper or something like that. But you don't live there now.
Yeah,
you moved.
Don't say Cooper if you're down there.
Yeah, it's Cooper.
Yes, we moved back to Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Yeah. So we moved back to Elizabethtown, Kentucky to be with our 3 kids, our 9 grandkids, and our great-grandchild. The first one's due in just a couple weeks.
Oh, you're living the dream. And how long have you been back home?
But just a little over a year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
now,
I retired from Fort Knox here in 1990. I'm retired military, so.
Oh, you were guarding all the gold?
No, they wouldn't trust me with that. I was guarding tanks and trainees, so that was my job here. For a large part of the time I was here as a drill sergeant.
Oh, okay. I'm sure you made a lot of friends along the way, didn't you?
Yeah, a few. I would imagine I made a few.
Well, as long as they don't know where you live now, you're okay. A lot of people do not realize that Fort Knox is actually an Army base. Before it was the repository of the gold treasury, it was, in fact, an Army base. So they planted that thing right in the middle, and there are tanks everywhere. And that's a pretty good start. Start in the middle of an Army base.
Well, now it's changed now. It's not an Army or an armor base anymore. They've moved all the tanks out. But Fort Knox is where the movie Stripes was filmed.
Well, I'm glad they let cameras in there. It's in any event, I was looking, Monty, at your Facebook page, trying to get some materials for this program, and you seem to have a love for classic cars, or I sure saw a lot of pictures. Are you a classic car buff?
Yeah. I am not a car enthusiast, but I sure like to look at them. I think a lot of what it is the really old cars is I enjoy the nostalgia, and on many of them it's just I enjoy looking at it and see the craftsmanship that had to go into it, as well as just wild imagination for some of them. I don't know how these guys think up a lot of these things that they do, but it's just a lot of fun just to look at them and enjoy the hard work and a lot of money that some of these guys put into their vehicles.
Well, I actually had a project where I restored. I didn't. I entered into a partnership, a deal with one of my employees, and I bought the car, and he did the restoration. And the idea was that he would keep the receipts for the stuff he bought, and when we were done, we would sell the car. We would repay me for the car. We would repay him for the materials that he bought, and then split the money that was left over. That was the idea. The problem is he fell in love with the car and did not want to sell it.
Yeah, I can understand that.
That was a 1971.
I was talking to my daughter today about people falling in love with cars. Go ahead.
It was a 71 Dodge Demon. They only made that for a year and a half. It was the transition between the Dart and the later Duster, but they accelerated that transition because as they released the Dodge Demon, was the year that the movie The Exorcist was released. So they weren't having a hard time selling a car named a Demon. So they only made them a year and a half, so it was important. A good deal. Yeah. Anyway, Monty, you love. It's not only the things you mentioned. I like that too. I don't actually do the wrench turning and all that. I just don't have the facilities. I would love doing it. And you are correct. The nostalgia is just so warm and so inviting. And also, as you said, the imagination of some of the people. I don't know where they get the idea, but there's one thing that I like about going to one of those car shows is the fellowship.
Right. And you talk about the imagination, and you look at what they do with those cars. I don't think they often get the credit due because in their own way, they're like a writer or a painter or anyone else that has an artistic bent. They just have a different medium. And exactly. I just enjoy looking at them and enjoying what they've done.
You're exactly right. And yeah, I said last night, there's a story in all of us, inside of us. There's a book inside all of us. But we express that in different ways. And here on pjnet.tv, we often have writers.
Absolutely.
But it is not limited to that because everybody has a story to tell. Now, as of late, you have embarked upon writing a blog. Is that correct?
I have.
And I'm going to put the address up there. Now, who in the world talked you into that?
No one talked me into it. I've been wanting to do it for several years, but I just never got around to doing it. I did some research online, and I guess I read some wrong posts about it, articles about it, because it's the cost was going to range anywhere from $300 to $1,000 to get started. I'm not doing that just from something I don't know if I'm going to stick to or not. So here recently I did more studying on it, and it's nothing like that.
It's free, isn't it?
If I don't try it, I'll never know. Absolutely. I think I spent $12 for the year for a domain name. That's okay. Pretty cheap. But,
which is
I'm enjoying writing articles that I've got. You don't have to. No. But I've got 3 posts up there now that I enjoyed writing, and generally when I sit down to write one, I have something else in mind, and then when I start writing, it's entirely different, and that's okay.
So how long does it take start to finish when you get an idea to you get it published on your blog? How long does that take for you?
Well, if you know anything about computers, however long it takes you to write a few minutes. Me, it might take me the rest of the day after I write an article, or maybe sometime into the next day, because I'm just learning to navigate around the blogosphere.
And well, it gives you something. I tried it for a while, but I'm doing too many other things, and I think the one key element that I keep hearing when I talk to successful bloggers is they say doing it regularly, sticking to it, and consistency. And I've got too many things other than that going on, so I've kind of given up on it. But so many people start out. It reminds me of January at the fitness club or the gym. There's a lot of people start, but very few people finish or stick to it. So what is your prognostication? What is the forecast of the likelihood that a year from now, if we had this conversation, you'll still be doing it?
Well, I only can say what I know, and right now I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying reading other people's Twitter posts and their blog pages, and learning from them. And right now I'm just having a lot of fun doing it. So I would have to say I'll be here in a year. I mean, why should I say anything different? I'm trying to look at my blog and say, yeah, read me. I'll be gone in 3 months. I really think I'm going to be around a while. If I can get some traffic, definitely I'll be around for a while because I enjoy doing it. And my sole purpose is really not to be a success, but just to share the gospel.
Well, speaking of sharing the gospel, this is not something new to you. This is something all Christians should be conscious of. But you and I have something in common, and it's the label pulpit supply. Now, not everybody knows what that means.
Yeah. Well, best way to say it is whenever a pastor is of a church, any particular church, going to go on vacation, going to be gone for the weekend, wakes up sick, hopefully at least a day, preferably 2 or 3 days before Sunday. They give me a call, and I would grab a sermon and step up in the pulpit and represent him by sharing the gospel.
Is it scary?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've done a lot of platform instruction in previous careers, but it's a lot different, I think, when you stand up in front of a sanctuary full of people, because they're expecting all this knowledge that you have and all this righteousness you're going to impart. And I am who I am. I just love the Lord, and I know what the gospel says. So once I get started, I'm fine. But generally, when I'm sitting in that front pew waiting on them to call my name, I'm just keep asking myself, why am I doing this? And then I get up there and I'm fine. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah. Well, I did it with some intentionality. I was already involved in our association, which was like 52 churches. And sometimes it is literally a case where the pastor woke up Sunday morning sick, and you get a call and you head out. So in preparation for that, what I did is basically develop 2 sermons. And that way I don't have to worry about being prepared. I'm always prepared. But you know what, Terry? I have never needed that second sermon because no church that I've spoken at has ever asked for me to come back.
I was a little bit more fortunate than that, and I'm not going to say that I've just preached and preached and preached because I had to. But I've done several of them, and I've got about 4, 5, or 6 sermons that I like to rely on, and I always annotate on the top of the sermon the date and the last church where I used it. So that way, if that same church calls me back, I know I can't use that one again. I have to go to another one. And I change them up a little bit from time to time, and it's fun and it's very rewarding. So I enjoyed it. I haven't done it for a while, but I really enjoy it.
I haven't done it in years, but I'm presently working every Sunday. I'm trying to make some changes there, but it's not happening. So,
Mhm.
so you're doing your blog thing. And I realized you're just getting started, but is writing something that you see in your future?
Oh yeah, uh, I started a couple of years ago, and health issues and other things. I just kind of put it on the back burner, and with some health issues comes a little depression. So I go like, well, that's never going to happen. But lately, my health has improved, and I have always enjoyed writing. So I picked the book back up, and it's not a long book. It's more of a thick pamphlet, if you will.
Hmm.
It's small steps to a big gospel, is what I call it. And what inspired me to write this book is I was leading a men's group at our church. Every second and fourth Wednesday, we'd have a wonderful breakfast and a lesson of some type. And I tried to center it around discipleship and sharing the gospel, because I did the instruction every Wednesday. And a lot of the guys I talked to, yeah, they're saved. They've been saved a long time, but would talk about the gospel. They couldn't explain it.
Hmm.
They didn't have a picture in their head, I don't think. And now some of them excellent, but there were a few. So I thought, well, this can't be just organic to this one group of people. And then I was in bed one, couldn't sleep. My mind was wandering. And so about 1 o'clock, I got up, and I pretty much had the introduction written in about an hour and a half when I went back to bed. And I slept like a baby. So I started working on it from there. And it's really kind of strange. I was told I couldn't, I believe I did. And that is, I took the gospel process, not to overestimate or overemphasize the word process. I'm not talking about like something you do in a factory, but the gospel process, and I charted it from God to granting us by grace through faith and granting us a changed mind to trust and repentance and on down to sanctification. And I used it in class. I got some nice comments off of it, and so I decided to write about that, and to actually have people go through me. One of the first things I say, when I get into chapter 1, is to get out a piece of paper and a pencil, and I talk them through drawing the chart. By the time through the pamphlet, they've actually drawn out God all the way down through sanctification. So they can see, oh, this is how that works. Because I was, like you think about repent, and you think about trusting in God. You got to do those to be saved. Well, which one comes first? Do you have to trust first, or do you have to repent first? Well, actually, it's a one-time thing. It happens together. Happens at the same time. It's a one-off. And so I explained that. Now I'm just waiting to see what to do with it.
Sometimes we think about things, we talk about things, but when you start writing them down, you have to crystallize those thoughts. And
Yes,
I
you
know
do.
and it's not just in spiritual matters. If when I was building the studio, well, it was an empty shell, so I had to decide where to put the electricity. And you say, well, I'm gonna have it here, and then the electrician says, well, I need, I need you to draw that. So it doesn't have to be fancy, but I need you to draw me a picture of where to put
Yeah.
the electrical outlets, because he says I'm not the one
Mm-hmm.
going to be using this, you are, and I need to know what you want anyway. Well, Monty, I tell you what,
Exactly.
it's great to know about your ministry and your works and all that, but it's really great. I want to thank you for being a part of the PJ Net family, and we got about a minute maybe. What has being a part of this prior to being on the show, of course, meant to you?
Oh, I think it's great. I alluded to it a little bit the other night in the chat room. Uh, just got on with a group of like-minded people to share time together, people that take an interest in what you're trying to do, and all I have to do is mention something I have a problem with, and there's 2, 3, 4 people right there trying to give me advice, either there or the next day, and it's just great. And we're a community family. I think that we all need to talk up PJNet in my mind, because it's like you and I talked about on the telephone the other night. If you're going out to eat and you see a restaurant and there's no cars around it, do you really want to stop there? So we need to, in our posts on our blogs and in our posts on Twitter, just talk about PJNet. I mean, we don't have to flood it, but talk about how we like it and invite people to join in. We need to be the cars at the restaurant, in other words.
Yeah. It's really great because our chat room is pretty active at this point, but it hasn't always been that way, folks. And imagine if you had visited here and came into a chat room with 1 or 2 people or 3 in it. That would be like going to that restaurant when you're in a strange town with no cars parked there. It sends the wrong signal. And so I think that's a great illustration. But Terry, thanks for parking your car in the parking lot, and we enjoy having your fellowship, and we hope that you get as much from us as we do from you. But we have got to get out of the way because Del Didway is on his way here any minute now. Well, not any minute. He'll be here at the bottom of the hour. Terry, thanks for sharing your story, and we hope you'll drop in our chat room and, well, chat.
I will. I'll be there in just a minute.
Monty Hobbs here on pjnet.tv. What a fun time we have, and I appreciate all of you. Folks, as I mentioned, we're going to wrap up now, but in the bottom of the hour, just in a few minutes, we will be joined on this stage by the man himself, Del Didway, as he is here every Tuesday evening. And we look forward to that. Folks, I got a bolt, but before I do, I want to ask 2 questions that you don't have to answer to me, but I would hope that you would ask them of yourself and be honest. The first question is, what is the boldest thing you have ever done for Jesus Christ? And the second question then would be, how long ago was that? You see, as I ponder those questions, I challenge myself, and I hope that you too will accept the challenge to never be satisfied with either